just to remind you, in not too long, we're going to be bringing you live, one-on-one interview with ODM leader Raila Odinga, courtesy of our radio station, Kitwek FM. We'll be bringing you pictures and sounds right here at KBC Channel 1. So if you had questions and queries that you'd want addressed, or even wanted to know what the former premier has in stock in as far as matters of politics are concerned, this is a place to be. As you can see, we understand our reporters are already on ground. They're just setting up. So indeed, it is a date. There's been so much talk in regard to, Raila Odinga's campaign, especially to Mount Kenya there. And just some 2 weeks back there, we saw him have a meeting with the Mount Kenya Foundation, where a lot was said that, the statement that had been put out before that Raila is not sellable in Mount Kenya. Well, indeed, we saw that he had the masses there. But then the question of the Mudavadi factor in the run-up to the elections 2022, as put across by one of the professors from the University of Nairobi, saying that maybe, just maybe, Mudavadi might be the hidden ace there. Remember, Victor has a political segment every Monday through Thursday on the show, so also you will be hearing from him soon. Now, Victor, being the political bigwig in this particular show this morning, what are your expectations? Remember, our sister station there, Kitwek FM, this does its broadcast in Kalenjin. What do you think about that?
Well, I think in politics, it's all about strategy. And Raila Odinga is just deploying his political tool, in a clever way. This is not something new. Most of the politicians do such because we know that radio actually, cover a wide range of population. So anytime they go to, for example, the Kalenjin radio stations, we have the Kitwek, we have the Chamgay, the Emo, and all those other stations, chances are each and every radio station will disseminate that particular information to different groups. We have got South Rift, North Rift, and the entire Rift Valley, and even some, these stations are being, listened to across the country. So every politician will have to deploy the best political tool. And what Honorable Raila Odinga right now is trying to do is to reach the masses. Perhaps he might not have that chance to go to the ground and talk to those people face to face. First of all, in terms of strategy, he'll have to deliver. It's called a soft approach. You have to deliver. You talk to those people first of all, give them a soft approach, then based on the response, because remember they have analysts, researchers, think tanks behind the whole program, the whole this kind of exercise. They will have to come back to him and tell them this is the reaction, this is the response. Feedback on the ground is, on this particular direction, and therefore at that particular point that he'll decide to go now to go and talk to the people in that particular region, then the intelligence that shall have gathered from that particular exercise, like for example today's radio station interview, will determine what kind of approach he'll give the people of that particular region. Remember, he has also talked to the Luo radio stations. At some point he also engaged other Luo radio stations. I am so sure he'll be going to other stations again. So it's quite common for politicians to grow across, to go that direction. Remember, even the Deputy President William Ruto also did the same sometimes back. So in terms of strategy, it works for them. At a time where you can imagine a radio station has almost how many listeners? The data, 5 to 6 million people listening at the same time, because they get that data from the Communications Authority and the feedback. So they have to make sure that they go out there and reach the masses pretty well. On Musalia Mudavadi factor, Regina, all these people are friends. Remember the Dimoni narrative?
Yes.
When
Madimoni.
Yes, Madimoni thing. Mudavadi, that's Honorable Mudavadi, is a force to reckon with when you go to Western Kenya. And most of the people, and even some of these politicians, say that when you want to go to Western Kenya, first of all, you have to knock at Musalia Mudavadi's door. at least there must be that person you'll have to recognize as a kingpin. So he has a following. And if you look at even the votes that he garnered in the last general elections, he has a substantial amount of votes. And when you go back to his backyard in Western Kenya, he will, amass those votes and put in the basket. I'm not so sure how it will pan out come 2022, because politics in Kenya right now, it's a safe card. Unatoa tu moja unaweka hapo juu, then you wait for your opponent to react, and then unachoma ingine.
In pool, eh?
Yes.
In pool, people refer to it as kuficha white.
Unaficha white.
Unaficha white,
yeah,
such that they cannot strike. I'm a snooker. You actually,
exactly.
But snooker is about points. But
yes,
now let's go to pool. Wala
or even going to war.
Tunaficha white.
Yeah.
And I like what you have said, that now when we see the former the leader of ODM there, speaking, addressing the masses through the Kalenjin radio stations, it speaks volumes that
exactly.
You know what, he's not shying away, moving his campaigns and his agenda through his political nemesis. That is his domicile there. And when talking about the political nemesis, this is the Deputy President William Ruto there. He's actually taking the message to his backyard using those particular radio stations. And yes, correct, the radio has a far reach. Has a far reach in the country. Remember, it's the largest medium of communication as it is. And I like what he's doing. I hope I hope he's also going to speak a few words in Kalenjin. That would be quite interesting there in terms of,
he obviously will.
Yes, but we're expecting Swahili and English thereabout. So, as we said, it is a date. Doreen?
Yeah, I feel it's just a question of strategy. I mean, when you looked at the by-elections that had also been happening, we saw how the DP was really trying to make inroads in places and areas that people could not even think of. And at least, to some extent, he got something. So it's just a question of strategy and proper strategy. I mean, if you really can't quite reach the grassroots, and we obviously know even the ban on gatherings that have been also given. So which other platforms, which other ways can we or can they use to reach Kenyans? And which better way than radio? And at least to ensure that they get to the Kenyans on the grassroots. So they also go for this radio stations of such kind to at least and try and make sure that they continue to popularize their bid. But regardless, at this point is where we keep telling Kenyans, regardless of whatever thing a politician will tell you, at the end of the day, make wise decisions. Much as you keep saying this all the time, and you keep saying that, when it gets the time of the voting and the ballot, it's like we go back to default setting. But then again, we just keep saying, make sure that you make right and proper decisions. And also, again, I know Kenyans are waiting to hear what the former premier will say. I mean, he's someone very instrumental in this country when it comes to politics, whichever way and angle you want to look at it. So I know Kenyans are really eager to listen and to just try and hear what will the former premier say. What will Raila Odinga say? What new thing will he tell Kenyans? Much as he has been trying to go to places, much of what we've been hearing is that he has something for the youth, trying to ensure that he creates more jobs. And the question is, we've been hearing about creation of jobs since time immemorial. So much as he wants to do that, perhaps which strategy will he use this time? That even as he talks about creation of jobs, it looks more real and realistic for even young people to actually believe and listen to that action. Perhaps this time it's going to be a different story altogether.
And
so you see what to wait for, even as that time when he begins speaking stats.
Exactly. You know what, Doreen? Perhaps directly, if you can just give us that split, those pictures live from Karen, if you don't mind. In politics, perhaps in the last election, people might think that Raila Odinga doesn't have support in Rift Valley. He has.
That's what I was getting at.
Exactly. That, the deputy president doesn't have support from Nyanza. He has. Exactly. You'll have, supporters across the country. It doesn't mean that if you're coming from a particular region, then that area is exclusively locked for you. No.
And speaking of strategy, and also looking at previous presidential elections, general elections, this time it's a bit different because previously, from what we have seen, most of the presidential aspirants always go to their vote-rich areas to campaign the most.
Yes.
But this time around, things have been very unpredictable, different, because even looking at this particular daily here, looking at the UDA officials that have been named, one of them is actually a former ODM leader, Raila Odinga's campaign manager. One of them that has been recruited to Deputy President's official team. And coming to this other story here, the now President, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is rallying the first families behind Raila Odinga. This is something that we haven't seen previously when it comes to presidential elections, where the current president is actually rallying the families of the previous presidents to come together, speak the same language to support this leader. And mind you, these are all presidents from different parts of the country. Looking at Kenya's history. And one of them actually was quoted saying, this was former President Kibaki's son was actually saying, Raila said Kibaki tosha. And we have no reason not to say Raila tosha. You see, this is not something that we have seen, and especially looking at the fact that we have almost a year to the general elections. This is not something we have seen in the previous elections. So this time things are different. Let's hope and see how